In this video, let's talk about port mirroring. If you come from Cisco world, you may be familiar with span or R-span concepts. The reason I want to have this video is first, there are almost no documentation from Ubiquiti regarding the port mirroring functionality. Secondly, over the past several years, there were tons of requests to have more features on the network controller, but so far Ubiquiti simply doesn't have any. This is definition for port mirroring on Wikipedia. As you can see, Cisco refers the port mirroring within one switch as span, switched port analyzer, the remote port mirroring as R-span or remote switched port analyzer. Port mirroring allows a switch to send a copy of network packets from the port which is monitored to a monitoring port. It's used for network traffic monitoring. It's very widely used in enterprise network environment. Originally, I planned to one single video to cover both span and R-span, but then I realized it will make the video too long, so I decided to split the topic into two videos. In this particular one, we are only going to talk about span, which is the port mirroring within one switch. First, we are going to talk about by default, just use the network controller outer box, what features we can get when it comes to port mirroring. The second part, the limitations in the network controller and whether you have any workarounds to achieve something which are not available on network controller. In next video, we are going to talk about R-span by using UniFi switches, whether or how you can achieve R-span. Before jumping to the details, let's first introduce the concepts for three different parts which are used in port mirroring. You want to monitor a port. That part is called mirrored port. You want to mirror the traffic, the packets sent or received through that port. Then you need a probe port because you want to send a copy of the packets to this probe port. Then you can run your monitoring station. Many people will use Wireshark to monitor the traffic. There's a special port, it's called reflector port, which is used in R-span configuration. We will talk about that later. Let's start with span. As you can see in this example diagram, we are talking about within one switch. You want to monitor the network traffic for some selected parts. In another part, you want to run some monitoring software to check the network traffic. In this video, I'm going to use a UniFi Enterprise XG switch. There's no special reason why I use this switch. It's just for now it happens to have some free parts. Let's start with the standard UniFi network controller feature for port mirroring. On the screen, you see three remote screen sessions for the three Mac machines shown on the diagram. The top right is the monitoring Mac. I'm going to run Wireshark on it. The lower left one is the Mac number 2. Lower right is Mac number 3. Through this video, I'm going to use these three Mac machines to test the port mirroring. Before changing the setting in UniFi controller, let's prepare the environments in the three Macs. In the number 1 Mac, let me launch Wireshark. Okay, choose the ES0 for my Ethernet port. Make it full screen. As you can see, it's already reporting so many packets, but we haven't started the port mirroring yet. What are being reported are the normal network traffic on this 18 port. Just to double check, let's make sure for the Ethernet we are still connected normally. Yes, it's using DHCP and it has my normal LAN IP address. I will leave it here, let it run. And in the Mac number 2, which is shown on the diagram here, let me run a random internet traffic. Let's say ping 8888. Okay, it's doing something, but apparently if you check the Wireshark, nothing is captured because we haven't started the port mirroring yet. In the number 3 Mac, let me do similar thing. Let me ping 1.1.1 dot. It's time for us to change the port mirroring setting in network controller. In the upper left, I'm showing you my home network's network controller. I already selected the enterprise XG switch. If I go to ports, as you can see, this is 18, 20, 22. I'm going to use these 3 ports in this testing. Click 18. If you click the port profile override, by default, the operation is switching, but let me change it to mirroring. Then you have one and only one option, which is mirroring port. So in our first test, we want to mirror the MAC number 2, which is connected to port 20. That's it. Just one simple setting for mirroring port. Let me apply changes. Okay. Applied. Let's see whether anything's changed in Wireshark. As you can see, the network controller is showing green color already, which is it's provisioned. And then yes, you see the 8888 traffic already, right? It's ICMP and it's seeing all the traffic from this part. This works out of box, very simple. If we check the IP address now, MAC hasn't refreshed the IP address yet, but it doesn't impact Wireshark. Just to make sure our understanding is correct, currently MAC shouldn't get IP address because the original port is connected to simply doesn't behave like a switching port already. So let me switch it off first, then switch on again, and then it will wait and wait for a long time until it's showing yellow color, which means it cannot get the HCP IP address, which is completely expected. See? This is the result I'm talking about. It has an internal IP address, not the one from my home network. Now we know we can easily do the port mirroring for one port. Naturally, the next request will be, okay, how I can monitor multiple ports using one probe port. Let's see whether that's possible from network controller. Let me go to port and remember what we just said was the port 18. You can even tell from the special icon. This icon means it's a probe port profile override. As we mentioned, there's only one field for mirroring port, right? Let's see whether we can add more. Let's say we try to add 22. I even cannot type in comma, and let me try dash. Yeah, that's possible. Let's see whether it's accepted. No, only number field. From the UI, there's no way you can input multiple mirroring port. That's disappointing because just one probe port for one mirroring port, it's a little bit wasting resource, right? Let's see how we can do it through CLI. Before proceeding to the CLI, let's first restore the port setting back to the normal switching. Now we can SSH into the switch. Okay, we are in. About UniFi switches CLI, command line interface, there are 2 things I need to mention. First, the operating system was inherited from Edge switch. So some of the UniFi switches have the same command line interface as the Edge switch. Some functionalities which are not available in the graphical user interface in the network controller, they may still be available in the command line fashion. The second thing is, as long as the feature is not directly available in the network controller, yes, you may be able to set it up in backend. It won't survive the switch reboot because every time the switch reboot, controller will sync the configuration, do the provisioning. Everything you set up manually in backend will be wiped out. So whatever we are going to talk about using CLI, just for your information, if you want the feature temporarily, you may want to try it, but we all know it's not ready for production. That's why in the past several years, if you search internet, you search, let's say, many to one span or port mirroring, you can see a lot of requests from users, but Ubiquiti simply still hasn't improved the network controller to include more features yet, even though those features are available in backend. The way to go to the CLI is telnet localhost, then en for enable config. Okay, now we are in the configuration mode. So the way to display the current span setting or port mirroring setting is to run this command, show monitor session or at least 4 sessions. It implies for each UniFi switch, maximally it supports 4 port mirroring session or monitor sessions. For all of them, they are disabled because remember we just restored the port mirroring setting from UniFi controller, right? Now let's manually configure the port mirroring. Remember what we want to achieve now is we want to monitor 2 ports. We already done it using network controller against this MAC, right? Now what if from CLI I want to add another part to monitor, right? Let's see how we can do that. Because there are 4 session IDs to choose, you can choose whatever you want as long as it's available. Let me choose monitor 2, monitor session 2. Let's define the destination. For our case, we want the destination to be port 18. Define the destination as 18. Again, the same monitor session 2, but this time let's specify source. We want to specify the first part, which is for the MAC number 2, and it should be port 20. And now it comes the feature which is not available in network controller. We can add more ports. Let me add another one, 22. Okay, no error. So that means now the probe part can already support 2 mirrored ports. Basically, we are done with the setting already, but let's display the session 2. You can see it's mirroring 20 and 22 and the probe part is 18, right? But the admin mode is disabled, which means it's not enabled yet. If now from the Wireshark, let me start the listening. Yeah, it won't capture either of the MAC ping sessions, right? Even though they are running now. The way to enable the monitor session is to run a little bit strange command. It's switch on or enable the monitor session. Okay, so now see the Wireshark. Immediately you see those ping sessions. You see the 1111 and 8888, right? They come from the 2 different macOS. So we already achieved what we wanted to do, but couldn't do it in controller. Now we can easily do it in CLI. If you check the monitor session 2 details, you can see the mirrored parts part. It mentioned RX, TX. It means you can specify the directions. By default, it will monitor both receive and transmit, but you can choose whatever direction you want. Then let's try it. Let me disable the session 2 first, or maybe remove it first. The way to remove it is the command no monitor session 2. Okay, so right after I run this command, see the Wireshark, it's back to the normal situation, which is it's not listening the 2 macOS already. So now we can start from scratch to specify some new setting. Here I specify the interface 20, right? 20 is this macOS. Let me say I only want to monitor the receive direction. The way to specify it, you can simply type a question mark. The system will give you the help. The way to specify it, simply say RX. That's it. And let's say for another port, the 22, let me see, I only want to monitor transmit. Okay, we are good. Then let me enable the monitor session 2 mode. Okay, it's enabled. Now let's check the Wireshark part. Oh, sorry, we are not done yet. I need to specify the destination. Okay, monitor session 2 destination interface 018. Okay, see the Wireshark part. For 888, it's only showing the receive, and for 1111, it's only showing the transmit. That's exactly what we want. If you go back to the slides, see we have 3 Macs. Now from the network controller, we can easily configure a probe part and a mirrored port to listen to either of them, right? But if I want to listen to multiple ports, I have to use the CLI. It's very straightforward. You can easily monitor multiple ports. The last thing I want to mention regarding the CLI commands, they are available to the USW switches which have name Pro or Enterprise in the models. If you happen to have UniFi switches which are not in the Pro product line, you may not have the same command line interface. Then you are out of luck. Okay, as we mentioned, we will continue in next video about RSPAN or remote port mirroring. Thanks for watching.